to... Oh, shit. That started too early. Dang it. Okay. No one can see me, but they can hear me. And I'm going to do the intro, and boom.
Sounds good.
Do its thing. Oh, there it goes. Okay. All right. Woo! Okay, and back to Zoom. There we are. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Houston with a Problem. I've got my special guest, Josh Hamilton of the Jist here. He is the entire reason why I have a show that you guys watch. so a year ago on Wednesday? Yesterday.
Yeah, I think it was Wednesday.
Yeah. Josh put up his interview with me, and it went bonkers. It was like... So I wrote this Twitter thread, kind of like doing layman terms to explain what was behind the GME squeeze and why it wasn't over yet, and there's still more to come. And I'd written this Twitter thread on a Thursday at like 2 a.m, and because I was so sick of like my friends and family asking me over and over and over again, so I'm just gonna put this on the record and just get this thing out there, and just full of typos and misspellings, and I posted it like 2 a.m, and I woke up the next day to it having been shared like 50,000 times. And I think the thread wrap unroll had been read like 1.5 million times or something crazy like that. It was weird. Like I log into the internet and I see my face all over the place and like weird memes, and it was the strangest thing. And a couple weeks later, Josh contacted me. He's like, "Hey, I really enjoyed your Twitter thread. Can I have you on my podcast?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I looked at this podcast. I'm like, "Oh, okay. A few hundred people will watch it. That'll be cool." And we recorded this thing, had a blast, and then he posted it the next day, and it was nuts. Absolutely, like people were making us into music videos. And it was so weird. And then my Twitter handle got deleted. And everyone's like, it's a big conspiracy, but no, I just cracked an inappropriate joke, and they said that was hate speech towards Italians, and deleted my Twitter account. So, yeah, that brings us up to speed, right? Yeah. So
Something like that. Yeah.
something like that. But Josh is in the process of writing a book chronicling the GME meme stock saga, and the problem is that he can't finish it. He's like, it's not writer's block.
Yeah.
It's just that we're not done chronicling the history yet. So, might as well start out with, how are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing very good, man. So I just got back I was in Austria for about a month.
Nice.
Took some time off, which was awesome.
Where in Austria were you?
I was just outside of Innsbruck. So I used to run a little bar in this tiny little ski resort.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Famously known by its patrons as the greatest bar in the world. And that is not a joke either. Like I used to tell everybody that while I was going around and the mountain, and then they were like, "Oh, it's not the greatest bar in the world." And it started off as a joke, but after like the 50th person that was like there, like 3 o'clock in the morning after coming for one beer, like hitting the bar, being like, "It's the greatest bar in the world." I started to believe it was probably true.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I went back for a wedding of like people I met while I was working there. They come like 5-6 times a year.
Yeah.
And they asked me to go to the wedding, and then if I would like run the after party in the bar that I used to run. But it was, I think one of the best days I've ever had on that mountain. Like they had a band at 2,000 meters. They had like a taxi taking people in this big, because they have like these big machines that like groom the piste at night.
Yeah.
And they have these big crates that that we used to have to like pack with beer to take it up the mountain to our hut that was owned by the same company.
Yeah.
And they put 20 people in one of the crates and drove them up the mountain instead of the beer, because they couldn't ski to get to the hut to get to the wedding.
Well, fantastic. I used to live in Austria. I lived in a little town called Kufstein.
Okay. Yeah. That's not far from me. Yeah,
exactly. Had an hour north, right on the border with Germany, and I played on a professional baseball team there, and the baseball players, all they did was hang out at an Irish pub. I'm like, you're in the middle of like Tyrolia, but all you want to do is drink Guinness. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best bars in Innsbruck is the Irish pub.
Yeah. Yeah.
like unashamedly one of the best bars. Like it's not even like biased. Like all the people there think it's the best bar.
Yeah. Yeah. I was really popular because it's hard for me not to tip. And so, and I'm a total square. So every day we'd go to this bar and hang out for hours and hours and hours and hours. And I'd like get a Coca-Cola and a grilled cheese sandwich, and it'd be, I don't know, €4. And I'd leave like €7. And the girls at first were like, "Your change." I'm like, no, it's all you. And they're like, what? So every time we
That's
came
a
in after
lot.
that, they would just like they would get in full on fist fights with each other over who got to serve me. It was great. I was so popular.
Oh, yeah. I mean, tipping's like quite a big thing over there, but not that much, man.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And I was 20. I didn't know how not to tip. I was like, I must give you this extra money. I don't know what else to do. And food, in a large part, I don't know how Austria is today, but like it was cheaper to go to a restaurant in Austria than it was in the U.S. So I
Yeah.
felt like I'm just giving you the money I would give at U.S. and it should be fine, right? Yeah. Well, excellent. Welcome back. You're,
Good to be back.
that must be Northern Ireland out the window there that I see. And
Yes.
yep.
Corners of Belfast there. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so I I really did not come into this with much organization, other than I figure we just chit chat and have a good time.
Yeah.
And if I can remember, I'll try to actually see questions that kind of people ask you as well. But let's talk about your book.
Yeah.
It's the title "GME to the Moon." Was that what it is?
To the moon, the
To the moon.
GameStop saga.
Okay, yeah, to the moon to the GameStop saga. I assume that you've like chronicled everything you could pretty much chronicle to now, and
Yeah.
now it's just like an ellipses waiting for, the final catalyst event to really just get the sucker done, right?
Yeah, basically. I mean, so I've got a draft that I wrote in that was finished in January of like the stuff I'd covered to then, basically, like this January.
Yeah.
And then since then, I've been mainly just like, yeah, making notes and taking a little, like just watching what's going on. I mean, I'm on Super Stonk and GME Jungle and Twitter basically every day, like looking for new stuff. And it's been super exciting like the last couple of weeks because I've spent like months and months and months of people asking me, "Oh, what's this book about?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay, you remember this thing that happened like last January? Like, it's not over." And they're like, "Okay." And then to like for Ryan Cohen, like after months of speculation, because like I've got a whole section of the book about like Ryan Cohen and DFV's tweets, and I've been trying to work out is like, were they just like playing around, dropping things that were like maybe kind of like hinting in order to like keep the hype train going, or for like PR reasons, or DFE was maybe bored and just trying to like send out like see like what the craziest thing that people would decipher from like some gift that he posted.
Yeah.
And then like over the last couple of weeks, like watching Ryan Cohen's like tweet frequency not only like massively increase, but watching him really go at BCG, especially like he's not holding back, and all of these things like screamed of a man who has everything in place. And I was just thinking like, what's he gonna do? What are they gonna do? And then they drop the fucking like stock recall dividend, like stock split thing. And I was just like, man, like this is everything that I have been dreaming of potentially happening. And it's like, and then who gets to vote on it? The fucking shareholders. Yep. It's like, yeah, exactly. This motherfucker. It's everything that you could have possibly wanted him to do. And then like there's all the NFT sort of like wallet, loop ring, immutable X stuff happening in the background. And I'm still trying to figure out exactly what I think they're doing with it. Like obviously there's the marketplace and then there's obviously there's stuff that I can't quite figure out what's happening. There's the GME wallet.
Yeah.
There's the Gmerica patents everywhere. There's loads of like pieces that haven't fallen into place yet, and that's super exciting as well.
Yeah. It's I'm wondering if did Ryan Cohen buy into GameStop with this as the plan the whole time, or did he buy into GameStop and go, "Oh, holy shit, I've got to make a new plan"? And I would really love to like ask him that. Did you like was it before you bought in, or was it after and you realized that like the board was messed up, that there was all these hedge fund, minions with their little tendrils throughout your entire company? Like what battle action? Like how quickly did you like consolidate your power structure? And I would love to know these things. And because he bought in, what $8 or something like that. It was August 2020, and I mean he could have bought in 5 months earlier and gotten it for $2, right? So what was, why then? Why I don't know. I if you have a chance to interview him and get that info someday, I would love to hear it. Because
I'm hoping.
Yeah. Right.
Maybe
Ryan?
I should try and get in touch.
Yeah, Ryan,
if you're watching,
go on Josh's show and spill your guts. Yeah. But
I mean, that would be the dream, really.
Because
maybe I should get in touch.
It's really obvious, especially since his gag order's off, that he's like, "Fuck you, short hedge funds," and all your shitty little friends. I've been talking for months about how there's a difference between the old guard, where they all went to business school together and they all are members of the same country clubs and their kids go to the same private schools, and it's hard for them to screw over their buddies in the short hedge funds with these companies. And Ryan Cohen is such a weirdo, completely different generation, not at all one of those business bro goons, and he's irreverent. He doesn't care. He's like, I'm already a billionaire. I don't care. I can do whatever I want. I can tweet out little turds. I can, do these things. And the pearl clutching from like the classic old guard is like, oh my gosh. But he's worth 10 times what you are, so who cares? It's a very different mentality, and it's I think he knows that there's like a legendary status that will build around this, that's outside of whatever other plays are made.
So I get the feeling that this wasn't the plan all along.
Yeah.
Because when he bought in at first in August, he might have just seen like a good opportunity. He might have seen the same sort of fundamentals that like DFE's original like videos were based on. And because he seems like a sharp guy in that sense. And I think since then, I would say the plan has been evolving for a while, because obviously there was what happened with the run up in January. I don't think he would have ever predicted like that at that point, because that was astronomical. Like we talk about it now as like the bit, like you coined the phrase the baby squeeze. We talk about it now like that, but it's still like, you have to remember it was remarkable. It is remarkable. And I think since then he went, okay, now we've got hype and momentum. And then they were able to like they were able to like clear all the debt, raise that 1.7 billion in cash, start and like reposition the company. Then you watched as the shareholders vote sort of started to happen. We saw 100% of the shares vote in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as things have progressed, weirdly, I think it's like as the apes and the community has like understood what's going on more and more, I feel like Ryan Cohen's plan has also developed. Like obviously there must be stuff that he's like had on the cards for a while that we're only finding out about now. Obviously, like a lot of these patents, the NFT marketplace and stuff like that doesn't just appear overnight.
Yeah.
But I get the feeling that a lot of this has been sort of almost like a back and forth with Citadel and the hedge funds and the financial system, and his like slowly trying to work out exactly how you stop the company being destroyed by all these shorts. And I think what we've watched in real time is a man figuring it out. And now I think I don't want to say we're in the end game, but we're at the point where he's like, he's making his moves. Do you know what I mean? Everything's in like the great quote in The Return of the King, the board is set, the pieces are moving. Like that's where we're at,
it's pretty remarkable. Like go back to January last year and everyone's like, oh, these guys borrowed too many shares and now they have to buy them back because the price is too high. Their liability. So what's his butt from Interactive Brokers? He had that little 3-minute interview on CNBC where he's like, yeah, they've got to buy 270 million shares, and there's only 45 million in existence or whatever at the time. And everyone's like, oh yeah, that's why this is squeezing. And then they turned off the buy button. None of us sold willingly. Some people who were on margin got forced to sell. And we know that they never covered, or they never closed, but they said they had closed positions. And so we went through that January lull. All of us reloaded at $40 or whatever. And then it exploded again. And we're like, whoa, why? Like, what was the mechanics behind this? And we started discovering, naked short selling. What was it in summertime once people looked at the debt swaps and equity swaps and I don't think Ryan Cohen knew about these things. I don't think DFV even knew about these things. I think that stuff was like privileged info held close by these colluding hedge funds, and they just didn't. I don't know. I was talking with a Lightning Warrior the other day, and I was like, I think that there is somebody who hates these guys' guts, who's sort of leaking secrets of hedge fund fuckery to us. Little by little, they're like, okay, why don't you check out equity swaps? Maybe that's a thing you guys should look at. And then someone does a big DD on it. We go, oh my God, they've been trading the rights to these naked shirts and all this stuff. And we went from like, oh my God, this is a huge problem of they borrowed too many shares to it's just so much bigger than that now, that it's in that astronomical realm where our brains can't quite grasp the numbers. Like, makes sense? Like, we could talk about billions. We could talk about, we literally can't wrap our mind around what these numbers mean because they're beyond the capacity of our little ape monkey brains.
Yeah. And it's that is also like, for me, that's the central story that I'm trying to get at with the book. Cause it's like, for me, the really incredible part of this is obviously like watching like all this fuckery unfold is like stunning, but like financial corruption is not new. The part that is really new for me is the fact that we've got like, I don't know, somewhere around 1 million, maybe more people like still deep in this, like watching things, still watching the ticker every day, like checking the price, like reading the DD, understanding like the sheer absolute like smoke and mirrors corruption that is the financial system. And that is the fucking beautiful part of all of this. Is just like, no, it's not just that we all like, think we're going to make a bit of money off of this. It's just like, we all understand like the absolute fraud at the heart of like the entire fucking economy. And for so many people to see that so clearly and have educated themselves so much, because the learning curve has been ridiculously steep. Like it still is. Like the amount of things that I'm trying to like brush over in the book that deserve like essays. Because I don't have the pages or the understanding of all of the stuff.
You're basically writing a PhD dissertation. Like that's, like you got to explain all these mechanics in the financial system to everybody, and you and you have to be boned up on it in order to explain it to everyone. It's go to the university there and just submit it as your dissertation to become Dr. Josh Hamilton.
Would I have to get a master's first, or could I just jump it?
Jump. Who cares? They used to do it that way back in the day. They give 14-year-old PhDs back then.
Maybe I'll find a university to do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty crazy. Just like the type of collusion that goes on. So just before we came on, I checked the level 2s of GameStop, and it's full of 400 orders for 400 shares, and that's the code for trade it sideways. Like, do not change the price. And I said earlier in the week that they're going to go for max pain for a while because they can't afford to let these options go in the money, because they realize now that there's going to be a gigantic liability for every share that goes in the money. And and people are like really upset. I think if GameStop hadn't announced the dividend shares, that we probably would have spiked. We probably would have gone to 300, 350 and then pushed back down again, just like we did last year a few times. But the introduction of the dividend shares made the short hedge funds go, oh shit, like we can't let this thing be at $200 because that means 10 million shares go in the money. So we have to short as much as we can to get it back down to max pain, so that we don't have this 10 million share liability, which could mean 70 or 80 million share liability, right? And so this week, they spent naked shares to short to keep the price at 150, because if you short 5 million shares, it's less liability than letting 10 million shares go in the money. And so that's why we're seeing it just sit at 150 and not budge one way or the other. And the fact that we know about these codes means the SEC has to know about these codes, which is literally collusion between the hedge funds and market makers, which is against the law. So just fucking arrest everybody already. Right?
Yeah. I mean, my best friend was literally saying this to me the other day, because he was just like, well, the price was spiking, spiked in after hours, and then as soon as the market opens properly again, it drops again. And and he was just like, what is going on here? And I was like, man, like, are you confused? It's like the secret ingredient is crime.
Yeah.
It's like, and he was like, no, I know it's crime, but like, why are the SEC not doing something? And like, I have the same questions, but like, I know the DOJ have got like criminal investigations opened in the hedge funds, including like Citadel and Ken Griffin, into naked short selling and other fraudulent practices. It's like, when I'm looking at things happening now, and I know that investigation is open, I'm hoping that there's some guy in the DOJ just like stacking up evidence.
Well, yeah, it's just like,
yeah. And that's what I hope that they're doing, because I genuinely believe, and I made a video about this a while back, I genuinely believe in that principle now of like no sell. It's like someone has to go to fucking jail. Like you can't, like someone needs to go to jail for this shit. Like the amount of fraud that we're watching happening, because it's just like how many shares are out there? This is the thing that really baffles me. Is just like, are you telling me you couldn't figure that out? Are you telling me no one knows how many shares there are? Really?
This is the bonkers thing, is that, that fast computer at the DTCC, no one's ever been allowed to look inside. No government entity, no private entity, no one. They've been subpoenaed dozens of times, and all they do is they just ignore it. And the court goes, oh, well. And so, is the Department of Justice ever going to be able to peer inside that computer and see how many illegitimate shares are out there? Will they ever, like, A, get access, or B, have the stones to, like, just force their way in? I don't know. It's pretty remarkable. But the fact that the DOJ announced that there's RICO investigations is a huge deal, because they don't announce that stuff until they have all the evidence they need. And now they're just like, Ken, we told you we're investigating you for RICO, and you're you're doing this right in front of me. Right?
Yeah. It's like that scene in Batman Begins, where like Bruce Wayne goes into the bar, and the mobster guy, whose name I can't remember, is like sitting there, and he's like, yeah, that's the chief of police. I could shoot you right here and they wouldn't arrest me. Yeah. He's like, is that the level of like hold that Wall Street has over our government and judicial system generally, and like regulatory agencies? Because that's fucking scary.
Yeah. I try to think about the game theory involved, and and I talked about this on my show and in other interviews I've done. Like, the SEC and the DOJ, I don't think are going to do anything until the market takes a shit. And that's because if they do something now, the market's going to collapse no matter what, and they're going to get blamed for it. And they don't want to get blamed for it. What they want to do is, the market dies, MOAS happens, the entire world's like, what the hell is going on? And you have like 60 Minutes shows and all sorts of stuff talking about it. And then the DOJ goes, oh, we did this postmortem, and we discovered that there was all this bad stuff going on. So we're going to make these new laws and arrest these guys and do that. Because when the market takes a crap, that's when those bad actors are at their weakest. And they won't be able to, they'll get liquidated, so they won't be able to afford their lawyers. And and any way that they're paying their lawyer is going to be a money trail back to whatever secret accounts they have. So I think the DOJ and SEC are just waiting. They're waiting and they're waiting, and they need to let like the Fed finally kill this thing. So I don't know, they see the Fed on board, and the fact that the Fed's making it now illegal that no one can trade who works there, which is like about time. So they may be taking steps slowly to get to that point, but my worry is that they're planning on letting it go to this bear market and everything drop. But what happens if it happens before they're ready for it?
Yeah, that's a little worrying.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they're ever going to be ready for it. Like, there's too many indicators that if a crash happens, that it could be absolutely catastrophic and monstrous.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't think that they're ever going to be like quote unquote ready.
Yeah. I think it was like winterizing a house. You're like, oh, it's going to be cold this winter. I need to wrap these pipes or whatever. But then, some Arctic blast comes along and blows your house off the foundation. You didn't like. It doesn't really matter what you were. Yeah.
Like you put all the insulation you want, like it's 10 miles down the road.
Exactly.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's probably what I think you're probably right with that. But like my question is still, and like maybe you can like give me some ideas on this. But my question is still like, how is this allowed to go on? Like, because we've seen the papers from the SEC about all of these things being awful. Like the apes are sending the SEC all the DE. Mm-hmm. And like Gary Gensler is not a dumb man. He's aware, seemingly, of a lot of the stuff that's going on.
Tweet out yesterday, like, "Hey, if you have stuff, send it to us." Right? So,
what do you think we've been doing?
Yeah.
Have you not read House of Cards? Come on.
Yeah.
Like,
it's
yeah. Like, what do you think it is? Do you think it's like? Do you think it's just like sheer, straight up, like ballsy corruption? Do you think it's like red tape? Do you think it's like lack of resources?
Yes. There's obviously corruption. I mean, we know if these guys are bouncing back and forth between investment banks and hedge funds and regulatory bodies, that there is going to be inherent corruption involved. There's no way to avoid that, which means in the future, you have to make it so that you can't hire somebody from one of these institutions. And if someone goes to one of those institutions, they are done. They can never come back to these federal regulatory bodies. You just can't have that cross contamination. Like in the United States, one of the huge problems we have is that when a cop breaks the law and they kill somebody or they're busted, planting evidence or whatever, the person who has to basically do the investigation, the prosecution, is the local prosecutor who has to work with the police to prosecute crimes, right? There's a giant conflict of interest there. And so, what you need a second agency or whatever whose job it is only to prosecute the police, and they could never have been police officers themselves. They have to be socially separate from these guys and just be complete assholes. And so we need that same type of thing for other regulatory bodies in the government. You can't have the guy who's the head of Monsanto be in charge of what goes on everyone's crops at the government level, right? You can't that's the big incestuous corruption I think plays. It's not necessarily like, oh, I'm going to pay you $5,000 to do this thing for me. It's that they already hold $30 million in stock in this company, and so we've investigated ourselves and found ourselves innocent.
Yeah, and it's like the other problem is that it's just the done thing, and it's also, I've heard a lot of politicians comment that it's not about the money that you get.
Yeah,
it's about when the money stops.
Yep.
It's like, if you do this thing, we will stop donating, which is no longer quid pro quo.
Yeah.
Do you know that it's like
ransom? It's a they got a gun to your head or whatever.
Yeah. Is that explicitly illegal under like donations law?
It should be. I mean, I would.
Law? Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that should be illegal.
I mean, Well, the United States, everything's screwed up because you have the dark money Citizens United thing where
Yeah.
corporations are people and they can donate as much as they want to these
Super PACs.
dark money super PACs that, have limited reporting and can basically act as the campaign arm of a campaign, but they just can't talk to each other about it. You can beforehand. Before you form, you can talk with the candidate all you want, and be like, "Okay, candidate, I'm going to form a super PAC, and we just need a list of things you want us to talk about." Once you form a super PAC, then you can't talk to each other.
Have you? Oh my goodness, you're going to love this if you haven't seen it. Did you ever see? So with there was some super PAC that was supporting Ted Cruz when he was running for president. I think in 2015, 16, right? And because super PACs aren't allowed to talk to the campaign, he couldn't give them footage that he'd filmed to make adverts with. So if he uploaded it to YouTube and made it free to use copyright free, then they could use the footage, but he couldn't just upload the exact things he wanted. So there was just hours and hours of raw footage of his family and him being really awkwardly interviewed. That was just on you, all the most hours and hours and hours of ridiculous footage of them trying to prompt the family to say inspiring things about Ted Cruz. Oh, Trevor Noah did a whole bit about it on the Daily Show. I remember I was just cracking up laughing.
We're in the dumbest timeline, man. It's just.
But I think people were always dumb, man. We just see it now.
I know. We just flaunt it more than we do. You could be an idiot in your house all day long, but now you're an idiot in your house with a camera pointed at you several hours a day. So,
I mean, I was listening to a guy who's doing a video essay on YouTube actually recently about why actors no longer matter. Is because they used to be these mystical creatures that you got one interview every 6 months in Vanity Fair or occasional press things before a film come out, and that's all the interaction you have with them. So they seem like these wondrous, mysterious, aloof, creative geniuses, and then you give them a Twitter account where they can spout off all day, and all of a sudden you're like, hang on, these people are just as stupid as we are.
I know. It's it used to be get the People magazine or whatever, and it'd be some grainy photo of Salma Hayek on a yacht with her Arabian boyfriend or something, and you're like, oh, wow. And now it's oh, Salma Hayek is a member of the Ramtha cult. And you're oh, huh, that's we now know just how weird these people are.
You see inside their homes, it just spoils the air of mystery.
It does, yeah. Oh, yeah. Who are the ones that Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard, and they tweeted something about how their entire family just kind of sleeps on one mattress on the floor, and they realized that the room smelled really bad and it was them. Why would you tell people that? What? Keep that veil of.
And it's not even drunk talk in a bar with 6 people listening. It's to everyone on the fucking internet with 6 billion people listening.
Oh, humanity. I don't know what the solutions are to our stupidity, but there's somebody out there writing it all down and being
there's some guy has got it figured out. We just need to find him.
Exactly. He doesn't have a camera on him all the time, so we have no idea. Yeah.
No. Probably that's probably why he has it figured out.
Exactly. Yeah. So, everyone's going to be. There's a couple of super chats in here that I've not. I'll try to get to the super chats in here, and we will get to those. But people probably want to know, how do you think this dividend share is going to play out? If you were to give go to your turban and predict the future, how do you think this would play out?
So I have been in touch with Stake. So I've because I started buying on I've got my GME in many different brokers, because I started buying on one and I was like, oh, I don't know about these guys. And I moved to the next one and the next one and the next one. Eventually I've settled on interactive brokers because I can DRS the shares.
Yeah.
But a lot of my shares are still held up in other ones, and I've decided that I now have to begin to sell all those positions and rebuy them in interactive brokers, because I sent a support request to one of them, and they were like, "Yeah, we don't support that. That won't be happening." Basically, about the shares, and I asked about DRS, and they were like, "Yeah, no problem. It's $200 for a transfer," and I was like, "Oh." Well, screw you. I'm just going to sell it and buy it. Because basically, what it means to me when they say, when like these brokers are saying things like this, eToro or another one that I think are going to do the same. I don't know about Free Trade. These are all UK ones.
Yeah.
But basically, I just get the feeling that they're going to try and screw us. And I get the feeling that they never actually, that they never even purchased the shares for us. I think it just says that we own them, and that's it.
Yeah.
So I get the feeling that there will become a moment where only the DRS shares are like real, and I don't know what that's based on. It just feels, it's just a hunch, because I just feel like brokers and clearing houses are going to try and screw us again.
Yeah,
that's what I feel. And I think if we have enough of the float registered, ideally more and more every day, which is just, it's amazing that it's still continuing. That I think that yeah, get your computer share certificate, get registered, be an official shareholder, and I think that is the way that this ends.
Yeah, a lot of the UK apps, they do these weird things where there's like a holding company in the United States who purchases the shares, and then sort of there's this like loose little string that they kind of tie to your account and go, look, see the shares, that's the shares there. Like, cool. Can I do anything with those shares? They're like, no, because they're in this little container of a holding company, and they're going to sit there. But you own them if you're the one. It's kind of how like Robinhood was doing their crypto, is that they bought the crypto, and then you would like trade it back and forth with other people inside their own system, and it wasn't like you actually own the crypto. It's just a weird permissions assignment thing. And so I think a lot of people are discovering like, oh, that's how a lot of like, if you get permission to trade on your Cash App or whatever, like weird little money transfer apps, that you don't actually own these shares, that you're just, I don't know, giving them money, and then they tell you, yeah, totally, I gave you all those shares. It's a great scam. I would love to sell a lot of Bitcoin that never existed.
Be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
No, but I just feel like there has to be a moment at which, because like it seems like everything possible is being tried now.
Yeah.
Because you got the direct registering of the shares, and the fact that GameStop have mentioned twice how many shares are directly registered with computer share.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that they're like, keep it up, guys, because from what I understood, they will know how many people actually voted last time around, and then just like double that, easy, as to how many shares that those people now hold. Everyone that voted that I am aware of has like definitely doubled their shares since that happened.
Oh yeah, I have easily doubled since last June. Yeah.
Because you just every time I get paid, like as payday creeps forward, I'm being like, no MOAS yet. Like after Friday. Yeah. I want to buy more. Like every month it comes around, and I'm like, oh please, not today. Like do it on Monday.
I think the next few weeks is going to be probably just good opportunities. 'Cause I think they're just going to keep it as flat as possible until these hedge funds have a better idea of what kind of plan of attack that they can possibly mount. Because the dividend isn't official yet. We have not voted on it. So there's therefore the big institutions that have lent out shares aren't going to recall just yet. So it's really just this calm, this doldrums before the storm, and everybody's just kind of, they're feeling it out. They're trying to figure out exactly what the plan of attack is. Is there a way that they can avoid this? I get asked, last week several times a day, can these groups just make fake shares and put them in our accounts as dividends? And no, they can't. The way synthetics are made is either via borrowing a share, and a synthetic is created in the account of the lender, or a failure to deliver. And that failure to deliver is, you buy a share. I bought a share. And when the clearing happens, your brokerage is supposed to give money to the brokerage of the person you bought the share from, and then they transfer the share. So what happens is they give the money, and then no share comes. And so this brokerage has to go to some client in their system, take a real share out, replace that with synthetic, and then give that share over. And that's the way that those synthetics are made. They're not made just by like, oh, you're supposed to receive a dividend share, I'm just going to put some synthetics in there. What happens is that once that synthetic is generated in the brokerage accounts of the seller's brokerage, that's when like that failure to deliver clock goes. And they're supposed to, at 35 days, liquidate the fucker if they haven't provided a real share yet. And but the loophole is these swaps. So they can take that debt of that synthetic share and trade it with someone else's debt, and it resets the clock. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. It'd be like if you and your neighbor, like you just are defaulting on your mortgage and your neighbor's defaulting on their mortgage. If you guys just traded mortgages, all of a sudden the bank's like, I don't know what's going on. And they just like let you go another 6 months. It's the dumbest system. And so the hedge funds aren't the ones creating the synthetic share. It's the brokerage. And the brokerage only creates it under this very specific failure to deliver action that has this time clock attached to it. Now, that synthetic is an IOU contract that basically says, hey, as long as this exists, you owe whatever dividends or privileges are assigned to this share. So if a cash dividend of $1 is given out for that share, that hedge fund is supposed to reach into their pocket, provide a payment in lieu of $1. And so if you look at your statement, it won't necessarily say dividend. Sometimes it will say PIL for payment in lieu. And if they can't pay that $1, their brokerage, the brokerage that created that synthetic, is required to liquidate the hedge fund until they can pay that $1. So in this case, if we get a 7-for-1, like everyone thinks it might be, right? Mm-hmm. That if they made
it's got to be 7-for-1.
Yeah,
that number is everywhere.
So if they had created 1 billion synthetics this way, so all these brokerages all over, there's 1 billion synthetics because they're all these failure to delivers, then now they're going to owe 7 shares for every single one of those fake synthetics that got generated from these failure to delivers. So that means their liability is 8 billion shares. So but you won't like if you have in your brokerage account, you went out and you bought a share and ended up being a failure to deliver, you may have gotten the real share at that time, right? And then someone else may have had their real share plucked, and that's what was given to you for that clearinghouse transaction. There's a very real chance that since then, you got your real share. The next day, someone else over here bought one, and your brokerage had to go, oh, fuck, took it out of yours, whatever. Mm-hmm. So if you're holding one of those synthetics, you are holding what you think in good faith is an actual real share because you got a cash account, you paid money, like you're not in margin, whatever, you're not lending. And the hedge funds have told Congress under oath that we close these positions. They told the SEC, we close these positions. The SEC is like, hey, they said they closed their positions, which means that if any fuckery happens as a result of this, then it's because they lied under oath. And I think it's a big trap that's being set up for them. That all of a sudden, all these people that have synthetic shares in their account, when they were told that they wouldn't have them, that everything's real, that there's no fuckery going on, that the brokerages are going to be like, oh, Christ, we have to liquidate everyone. We have 2 days to do it because, the 76 million real shares got theirs, and now these 1 billion fake ones don't. Yeah. And so
yeah,
it's going to be Wild West, man. Like,
but the best bit is like, even if they attempt to cover that up somehow,
yeah,
then the prospect of like the NFT dividend or like an NFT like thing on top of it is just like checkmate. That's how it feels like, and it like, and I don't know, maybe it's being like naively optimistic that that's the plan, but like every single thing that like you read and seems to fall into place, and all of the hints and all the unfinished parts of the story that we were talking about, all of that just seems to point towards like that's what they're doing. Come on, please.
Yeah, I think, you know, when I first read that SEC report about the squeeze, and I read it and I was like, these fucking lying assholes. Like, what? They didn't talk about naked shares, they talk about any of this stuff. And then, you know, a day later, it dawned on me. I was like, oh, their point was not to show that the hedge funds closed, was to just say the hedge funds told us they closed, but look at this data right here of the volume of trades, that this was all retail and this thin little thing at the bottom was the actual trades done by hedge funds. So, you know, do the math yourself. It doesn't check out. And so I think that was the big wink nod to GME going, hey, you know, the big argument in the courts with Overstock was that Overstock submitted this crypto dividend specifically to hurt short hedge funds in their positions, and that, you know, that's technically illegal or whatever. So GameStop now can do whatever the hell they want dividend wise, and the shorts can't complain that it was done to hurt them because the shorts lied to Congress and said that they aren't short anymore.
Yeah, they have under oath saying, "Well, you covered your positions. This is what you told us."
Exactly. Yeah. so I wouldn't doubt that a lot of these meme stocks, you know, a lot of them announced like, hey, you know, in their quarterly reports were like, hey, we got a subpoena from the SEC to provide documents, and AMC said it, GameStop said it, Metamaterials said it. I'm sure others had it in their reports. Like, hey, we were asked by SEC to provide documents about, you know, shareholders and trades and whatever. And I think it wasn't that they were investigating those companies. It's that they were investigating the trading actions of these institutions and these funds. And they, you know, they've got some computer and some, you know, applied math nerd doing data analysis on all of this. And they've got giant walls of computer screens that just like point and have these connections everywhere and these like flow charts going that they know exactly who did what, when, how. Yeah. But they're just waiting for the economy to just go for them to pull the trigger, I think.
Well, I mean, hopefully like, I don't want it to all go tits up, but
yeah, I think it's pretty unavoidable at this point. You know, the mortgage-backed securities this week in the U.S. just fell off a cliff, and at the lowest point since 2009. Yeah. And then the commercial mortgage-backed securities are worthless now because all these giant office buildings that people bought for $1 billion are empty because everyone's working from home. And you know, you're a major company. You can save $200 million a year in rent because all your employees are working at home. You're not going to renew that lease.
No.
Right?
No.
Yeah. Especially when you can, if you do have to, you can go to the building next door and get it for a third the price, right? So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Then we got China defaulting, Russia defaulting, Belarus defaulting. Who was the other one I just read about that was going to default? Oh, crap. I don't want to say a country name because I might be wrong, but I was going to say... Yeah, there's a fourth country I just had read about that is like, well, we can't pay anything. It's
Is it Greece? They're notorious.
Oh, Greece always, yeah. People are just used to that at this point.
Have you ever seen that? Have you ever seen the comedian? Actually, his name's Al Murray, the pub landlord.
No, I've not.
For all American viewers, you have to check
Al
this guy
Murray.
out.
Okay.
Al Murray. He plays he's a really smart dude. He's like a master's in history, but he plays the character he does like when he's on stage is a pub landlord, like a barman, but like the typical like straight talking, like common sense, like English, bloke, he comes off with the most brilliant stuff ever though. And I remember he was talking about like the Eurozone crisis, like a drunk bartender explains the Eurozone crisis, and he's talking about it. He's like, look, Why didn't anyone check? He's like, if you just had to look. All you had to do was look. It's like Greece, we're going to give them tens of billions of euros. He's like, will someone check if the Greeks are good at paying things back? And you go back oh, they've defaulted 5 times in their history. Oh, okay, maybe we shouldn't give them tens of billions of euros.
But you had to make the Olympics pretty.
True.
There needs to be some sort of wash. I don't know. Like people always talk about the Great Reset and whatever that means, but really, like, when it comes down to it, you know, the Chinese owe us trillions. We owe the Chinese trillions. Just
yeah,
like,
yeah, just
yeah, like,
yeah, exactly. We cool.
Yeah. I had these roommates once, and they were the exact same person. Both of them were fly fishing guides who just smoked way too much weed all day long and watched basketball. Like, I lived in the middle room. They were in rooms either side of me, and they were the exact same person, just stoned out of their minds, watching basketball, taking people on fly fishing tours. And towards the end of our time in this house, this is why I just handle the bills. Like, I do the electric and everything, and everyone just pay me and whatever. But like, I was responsible for rent. One guy was responsible for water. Another guy was responsible for electricity. And pothead number 1 owed pothead number 2 $300 for water. Pothead number 2 owed pothead number 1 $300 for electricity. And they wanted to fucking kill each other. You owe me $300. What is wrong with you, you piece of crap? And they were getting to blows, and I'm like, just. Why? You got it. Just call it a wash. You owe each other the exact same amount of money. Be cool. You're both idiots. I don't know. Like,
do you want to get to these super chats? Because I'm.
Oh yes, sorry.
Go soon.
Okay. Yeah. It's dark outside there now, and okay. I don't think there's only a couple of them in here. Bex Houston, happy birthday. I still honestly don't know how this came about. Happy birthday thing. Awesome to see you back to the start. Congrats on all you accomplished. Oh, it's just thank you so much for that, Bex. Yes. Father Ted Crilly speaking. I'm not selling any shares until my brokerage account has more money than the Catholic Church. Given what we know, when can I expect that to happen?
I mean, if you were looking at the vote, the shareholders' vote is in June.
I believe. June 7th, I think.
June 7th. So then it'll take, I'd say, 90 days probably ish.
Yep.
To get that all in place. So yeah, August, maybe September.
I think there's going to be 2 of them. I think there's going to be 2 squeezes. There's going to be a squeeze from a recall from institutions, because there's a weird tax liability that happens if they get a payment in lieu instead of the actual dividend shares. Whereas if you get the dividend shares, you're not taxed on it until you sell it. So you can still take it as a long position or whatever. But if you receive a payment in lieu, and if you're an institution who lent out your shares, the way the law is written, or the rules are written, is the hedge fund doesn't have to give you shares. They can just give you a cash equivalent. So whatever that date of record was, so let's say it's, I don't know, July 10th of this year is going to be the date of record, right? Whatever the stock was trading for that day, the hedge funds just give them the cash equivalent. So if it's trading for $200, they can give them $1,400, and that covers the position or whatever. Okay. But the stock could be trading for $100,000. So it would not be in the best interest of the institution to have to do this. Plus, they have to pay a 37% tax, which they do not want to do. So they're going to do a share recall prior to the dividend, prior to the date of record. And I think that's going to cause another whoop, and everyone's like, oh, it's squeezed all over. But then when the dividend happens, there's going to be a squeeze based on all these synthetics that were generated over the last 20 years in everyone's accounts. And so I think we can see 2 of them. And it may be fantastic.
Is it possible that the first one triggers just like margin calls and can we just go?
Yeah, then it would just be 1. Right? Yeah. So, if that price, the stock gets to $1,000 a share or something during that first one, then yeah, it might very well trigger everything. So I'm really, like, in my head, got this like it's like a game of pool trying to predict which ball goes in which pocket, right? You're calling your shot and trying to see like is there some ball on the table I can't see? Like do I know all the pieces that are there? It's
I
really
think
hard.
there's only two people. I think the two people who know the most are Ryan Cohen and Ken Griffin.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, yeah.
I wonder if they're in like a chat with each other. I wonder if they have each other's phone number.
Oh, that would be really curious.
Like, what if like, what if like Kenny G's just like fucking text like sending him like really brutal memes like all day about how he wishes he would die. Like,
Oh, there
or
was
what if Ryan Cohen's trolling him with like the sir
yeah.
memes?
Oh, just like poop emojis. I yeah, like how connected are these guys? Like there must be a Venn diagram of their social circle somewhere where there's
Yeah.
crossover relations, and like there's these friends feel like they're being tugged in either direction.
Yeah. Well, what is it like? Because you know, 100, like, what is it? People, the estimate is like everyone knows 100 people reasonably well, or it
Yeah,
has like 100. And then the 100 people that they know, that gives you what, 10,000. And then the other 100 people that they know puts you at like a million.
yeah,
So you're like two people away from a million, basically.
yeah,
And then, yeah, three people away from like 100 million. So, like, there's got to be crossover.
yeah.
I reckon they've probably got like some mutual acquaintance.
Oh, they definitely do. I mean, my dad calls it the good 1%, like the not like the wealthy 1%, but the people who like get out and travel.
Mm.
And if you spend a chunk of your year visiting other countries and going out and doing weird adventures, you run into people that are good friends with people that you know. It happens every single time I leave the country. Is I end up in a restaurant, a bar, a chairlift, and someone's like, "Oh, you're from Bainbridge Island? Do you know so and so?" I'm like, "Yeah, they're like one of my best friends in the entire world. How do you know them?" "Oh, I was at this beach in Mallorca," and like it happens.
Yeah.
And then like that 1% in your social circle, you'll run into them in weird places around the world. I can't tell you the times when I was going to school in Hawaii, I'd be driving down the road and be like, I dated that girl when I was 14. Why is she walking down the street right there?
Yeah, I mean, that happened to me that happened to me the other day actually in Austria. So I'll leave you with this story because
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go because
Okay.
I'm gonna get some dinner with some friends. But I walked into a bar in Austria at like 2 o'clock in the morning. The Irish bar, actually, hilariously. And I went up to the thing and I was just like, yeah, I just ordered like 2 beers. And the girl's like, hang on, I know you. And I was just like, oh God, oh dear. Because that happens too much in Austria because
Yeah.
I ran this like tiny little but quite infamous bar
Yeah.
that for 3 years straight, 5 months like straight. I know a lot of people in that area and I've met a lot of people while trashed
Yeah.
because I was encouraged to drink with the customers, like not just like allowed, like actively encouraged. Because that's how that kind of place works. But yeah, and then she was like, "Yeah, I know you," and I was like, "Okay." And she was like, "Yeah, we met 8 years ago in Brussels in Cafe Delirium," and I was just like, "Fuck off." And she pulled up the fucking picture, and I was like, "No way!" And there was like 18 or like 19-year-old me,
Yeah.
and I was like with her and like my friend, and I was like, "How do you remember this?"
Small world, man. I ran into a friend from high school at a rest stop in Utah once. Like we were just like parked our cars, went to go to the bathroom, and we're like,
Oh.
life's weird.
Yeah, yeah, small world. I mean, I'm kind of used to it coming from Northern Ireland. Like everyone
Yeah.
knows everyone here,
Yeah.
so it is a small world here. But then when you get out into the larger world, you think, oh, it's not going to be a smaller world. But it is. It still
Just as
is.
small. Yeah. All right, Josh. Thank you so much for jumping in here. Have a great time at dinner.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's always do it again. It's always fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely, man.
All right.
100%. And as of next month, I'll be in London, and then as of the month after, I will hopefully have a studio set up.
Ooh.
So if anyone is ever in London, and
Yeah.
yeah, come on the show.
All right. I may end up in London at some point this summer. So
Well, let me know.
August-ish, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be there.
All right.
Doing
Sweet.
podcast.
Sexy. All right. Have a good one, my man.
You too. Great to talk, man. Always
Toodles.
great to see you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. So, here's the thing, folks. Is I can continue the show for a bit on this Zoom thingy, I think, but I don't. If I switch over to Big Houston, there is no camera. I do not exist. Oh, sorry, Big Houston. Oh, son of a. God damn it. I got myself. I totally got myself. Turn off the intro. Yeah, so there's no camera, as you can see. It's just blackness with my voice and Monkey Butt. I mean, maybe I can steal Monkey Butt's camera and do it that way. Otherwise, I will. If my Zoom goes away, we will go to the Monkey Butt cam. And otherwise, we'll just be on. There's the Monkey Butt cam. We'll just be on the Zoom where I'm completely flipped backwards, and we can do a regular show for another 50 minutes or so. And then I've got another call with a production company about that game show I got to talk to. So I got to get off and do that. So is there other? Did I miss a super chat in there? Father Ted Krilling, thank you, Josh. Won a bet by making you laugh. There you go. All right. So let's get back into it. Let's do a normal yik yak while we can. And how's everyone doing? How's the day? We closed. Where's my? I bet we closed about 150, didn't we? I bet that's where it was because that's exactly where. Back. We closed. Just below 150. So 146 and change. That's right around max pain. So yeah, we saw. If you looked at the level 2s, you saw tons of 400 orders, and that was all like trade it sideways. We're at the price we want, just trade it sideways. And so that's what the market makers are doing, man. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's get to questions here. Not really going to be able. Okay, so I'm kind of cut off from where the question started. So I've got about 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, at 12:45 or so is where my questions start on my chat thing, because for some reason YouTube just goes, we're gonna lop off the first hour of chats. Okay. Dog Toggler. DRS is the reason utilization has been 100% the last 40 days. It doesn't stop market makers from naked shorting, but it's still a good thing. It's true. It does not stop market makers from naked shorting at all. You can lock up as much float as you want, and they'll still generate fake shares and send them out there. But it does send the signal of like, hey, should they be allowed to generate all those naked shares? I totally agree with that. That's from Dog Toggler. Just Bodies isn't mentioning the percent of DRS shares just a legal requirement past a certain point. I have no idea. I don't know what the rule is on that. That'd be something to look up. Yeah. Jorge Siniceros, I hope I said that right. What if they say share lenders are the ones who actually own the shares and will get the dividend shares? They will turn around and lend those out to shorts. It's possible, but there wouldn't be enough of them, right? So, the institutional ownership is, I don't know, let's say it's 25 million shares, right? So they do a recall, they get the 25 million shares back. They then get the 741, so they're sitting at, 175 million shares, 200 million shares, somewhere in there. Cool. But there's still 1 billion synthetics in all the retail accounts. Those 200 million shares are not going to make up for the 7 billion that are owed in the my headphones dying. Sorry. I think my headphones are saying that the battery's about to die, and I don't need them on. Duh. Ha! I'm an idiot. I don't have anyone on the other line, so I don't need the headphones on. Stupid Houston. What was I saying? Oh yeah. that those 200 million shares are not going to make up for the fact that 7 billion will be owed for all the synthetics and all the retail accounts. It'll cover, a fraction of what's needed. So that's why the price is just going to go through the roof, because they're going to have to buy those 200 million shares again and again and again and again to slowly put those things into people's accounts. It's going to just be nuts. It's going to be nuts. What would be crazy is that because there's a date of record, so you may have that synthetic in your account. And there's that data record, which means, hey, if you own share on this day, when the dividend is offered 30 days later or whatever, you're going to get those shares. So you can sell after that. So if the price is going bonkers and everything's going nuts and you haven't received your synthetics in your account yet, but the price is a bajillion dollars, you can sell that one share and they still owe you the 7 that you can sell later. So it's going to be wild. It's going to be really wild. Okay. John Croissant, don't forget that PIL payment in lieu has different tax effect status. Yes. In the PIL in cash to a synthetic that was generated due to FTD is different. Like if there's a cash dividend and you got a PIL because your share wasn't real, but you went out and bought a share, you didn't lend it out to get that fake share, that cash is treated just like it would for a normal legit share. Same thing with receiving shares as a dividend. You won't receive a cash equivalent in your account unless you lent out your shares purposely. So don't worry about that. You won't be getting the cash equivalent account. You should get shares eventually. Okay, Amy R. still in Aruba. Nice. Okay, I've never been to the Caribbean. My mom, after college, lived in St. Thomas, and she's not been back since she lived there. She met my dad in St. Thomas. He had sailed down and fell in love, and left. But I'd love to go to the Caribbean someday, or Caribbean, however you want to call it. Okay. Tammy Thompson Houston, did you DRS your shares? No, I'm still sitting there in Fidelity. I haven't DRS anything. Truth Seeker Houston, why wouldn't market makers just fake 7 times our shares? Only unravels if massive sell-off. Correct. The market maker is not who can fake the shares. It's the broker who has to do it. And the broker can only give you synthetic if there's a failure to deliver from a transaction via the clearinghouse. In this case, it's not the clearinghouse that is delivering the shares. It's the transfer agent delivers those shares to the brokerages. And so there's not really clearing that happens. So there's no way for the brokerage to develop those synthetic shares in the accounts that didn't get them. So it's going to be a very weird, very, very weird thing. And I'm really curious to see how it works out. I honestly don't know exactly how this will explode, when it will explode specifically, and what weird things they can do to get out of this. Because I don't think they can. I just don't. Beverly McCarthy, I'm 1 hour behind. I believe Ryan Cohen bought into GME because he saw Overstock beat shorts in August 2020. I think this was a plan all along. I think RC and EM planned this together. Tinfoil hat. Very possible. I mean, sometimes you can look at I don't know, the fundamentals of a company and go, oh, dude, I could so easily fix that. And if you got the money to do it, by all means, save that company. I do think that there was a lot of short attack fuckery that Brian Cohen probably had his eyes open to, going, whoa, okay, you and you should not be in your positions on this board. We got to get you out of here because you are toxic and you're here to destroy this company specifically. And looking at BCG and the consultations that they would do would basically be like, hey, sell off all your land, fire all your employees, and stop ordering products. You save a bunch of money. And then destroys the company. So Brian Cohen probably was like, yeah, cancel that BCG contract. They're useless. They're not providing a service that anyone can use. It's interesting that they're now talking about that a whole bunch. It's one of those things that, again, we get our eyes open to it ahead of time. Like, we knew about short attacks and about these toxic positions inside of companies that torpedo them. They ruin logistics. They sell off assets. They cancel contracts. They delay orders. They don't renovate or improve R&D. So these other things. I had never considered that they would spend boatloads on useless consultants to then give them the advice of destroying their own companies. That's a great way to drain liquidity. All right? Like, wouldn't you like to work for a company where you got paid $30 million to give them the worst advice in the entire world? And they're like, thank you. Thank you for telling me the stupidest thing you possibly could. It'll destroy my company even faster. Like, I could do that. Hire me. You know, if you are a short hedge fund and you want to destroy a corporation, pay me $30 million. I'll come in and I'll tell you exactly how to destroy your own company. Gladly. And then we can go play golf together. Right? Yeah. Let's see here. Where are we going? Houston, this lap 27. Houston, what happens if we all decide to transfer our shares to another broker just for fun to disrupt the brokers and see if they can find any shares? I think that causes problems. We've seen weird glitches where someone transfers into Fidelity or into TD Ameritrade or something, and they look at their account and the cost basis for those shares is like $3,000 a share. And they're like, what? I think that's because they can only transfer real shares. They can't transfer these synthetics. And for this transfer to happen, the brokerage that you're in currently, you're like, I'm going to transfer over here. And so the brokerage goes, oh, shit. So they've got to go and they have to find real shares so that they can transfer you over, because this brokerage isn't going to accept synthetic ones. They won't. They can't. And they have to buy those shares like 10, 15 times each to finally get a real one. Right? If the amount of synthetics out there is 10 times the float, which I think is actually more than that, then they're going to have to go out and buy shares 10 times from people until they finally get a real one. They go, oh, fine, got one covered. Okay, but he's got 300 shares that he's trying to transfer, so now I have to do this 3,000 times. And for each one of those shares, I just spent $3,000 on it. And so now when it finally transfers over, what shows up is the cost basis being like $3,000. I think it's a glitch in the system that they didn't mean to have show everyone that data. But I think that's what happened. And it's, I think transferring can really screw with them. The danger with doing transferring like that, having everyone transfer, is that the squeeze could happen while you're in the middle of a transfer and you can miss a good chunk of it. Or, nothing transfers and it just gets bogged down. So it creates it can take 2 weeks to a couple months to transfer. I tried transferring stuff into Fidelity and the Robinhood account was like, it never happened. It's been ongoing for like a year and a half. Nothing's transferred. So, yeah. Cole Kelly, hey Houston, Google Leo Labs visualization and click the first link. It shows every satellite and piece of space trash in orbit. Holy Kessler syndrome. Let's do that. Okay, we go to scene, we go to Chrome. Where? Oh, there it is. Bam. Okay. Took a second. Okay. Leo Labs. I think we went here before. Did we go here? Did we go here? Click the first link. And there's a space trash, right? So... Nope, I don't want to log in. Why are you trying to make me log in? I want to see... Show me... Tracking monitoring. Show me, Leo Labs. Where... Technology data services... Is it just the this? I thought they showed like a real-time one that I thought I clicked on in the past. But yeah, there's 300,000 known pieces up there. I mean, it's basically a piece of space junk for about every 13 square miles or so. I gotta go back to Zoom. There we go. It's like a piece of space junk for about every 13 square miles, which, you know, could be a little bolt, and that's pretty empty, right? But and we're at different levels because the low Earth orbit goes from 100 miles to a couple thousand miles up. So in just columns of space, about one piece of junk for every 13 square miles. But we are rapidly going to be filling that up with microsatellites. So SpaceX is launching 20 to 40,000 of them. SoftBank is launching 20 to 40,000 of them. Amazon just announced they're launching 5 to 10,000 of those. So we're going to be filling up with these little baseball-sized satellites that don't necessarily have enough fuel on them to maintain orbits and to reposition. They just kind of take them and they just throw them, and they do their thing. So we're going to have a lot more wild cards that are of a much larger size than like specks of dust and nuts and things that were flying around. It's going to be interesting, busting through that someday in the future. Okay. Okay, we got to... Okay, is everybody saying goodbye to Josh? Yes, thank you, Josh. It was wonderful having you come by. I love chatting with you. Okay. M. Mosler asked, do you think that Europe will soon buy Russian commodities from the Chinese? That will probably be the black market workaround. I'd said that to look for China becoming a huge wheat exporter by the fall. So when all this harvest happens, China will buy Russian wheat because Russia won't be able to sell that wheat in the market, and we will buy that wheat from China at a crazy price. China will get a screaming deal on all that wheat, and then we will probably end up buying it from them. And that's, you know, China may become a net exporter of oil. They may become a net exporter of gold, things like that. So, I mean, that's how black markets work. You find an intermediary and you work through them, and that's how you launder. If you're going to be selling blood diamonds, you want to get that diamond into the hands of a legit reseller, so that all of a sudden, you know, it's not a blood diamond anymore. It's from this legit guy in Belgium or what have you. That's how it works. Oltan Pozar, Credit Suisse, is talking about this in his document about Bretton Woods 3. Yeah, I mean, look at World War II, right? You have a company like General Motors. General Motors in the United States makes the Chevrolets and the Cadillacs and all those things, but then war happens and war powers are enacted, and they're making airplanes and tanks and jeeps and all sorts of stuff, right? Okay, that's what they're doing in the U.S. In Germany, General Motors had Opel and other companies, and when Germany went to war, those factories, due to the German war powers, were making Panzers and Tigers and, you know, Luftwaffe airplanes and stuff like that. So General Motors was making money off of both sides during World War II. They had factories in Germany pumping out German arms, and they had factories in the U.S. pumping out American arms. And no one ever got in trouble for it. But General Motors made a boatload of money off of both. You know, Ford had the same thing. All these companies, you know, that's globalism. There was globalism in World War II. There was international ownership of this stuff. So, you know, I have no doubt that there are groups playing both sides. It's funny though, because in Russia, right, you have Russian rockets actually have components for their engines built in Ukraine, and the Russians destroyed the factory. So now Russia's running out of components for their rockets, and they may run out of rockets in general. Same thing with their MiGs and Su fighters. Their fighter craft uses engines built in a airplane factory in Kyiv, and they destroyed the factory. So if they need parts for their fighter jets, they aren't going to have them anymore because they destroyed the one place that can make them, and Russian tooling sucks. Russians are really bad at setting up tooling for machinery, so there's no way they're going to be able to get parts made for these airplanes. Eventually, they're just going to not be able to turn on engines for their jets. So, you know, there's really weird things about the way these international trade and gray markets and dark markets, black markets work. Oops. Someone didn't think about that when they were doing the rest of their logistics for Russian invasions. Okay. We didn't muck about Cam. He didn't muck about Cam. She's looking good today on it. Aren't you, buddy? The big dog has just been a puddle on the floor on my feet all day so far. The Aviation Channel, love the show. Do you think Kennedy will go to prison? Well, he's essentially losing money for rich people, and you don't want to do that. You can lose poor people's money all day long. There's nothing they can do about it. You lose money for rich people. They've got rich friends. They've got powerful friends. They can generally put some pressure on law enforcement. I think there's a good chance. I don't know if he'll live, because if these offshore accounts, these Cayman accounts, once Cyprus, whatever, if they're full of money from ill-gotten gains from really scary people, from drug cartels, from dictators, from warlords, from, you know, mafia, things like that, they put their money in these offshore accounts to hide them from their governments. Then those offshore accounts then invest in hedge funds in the United States to, you know, increase the amount of money they have. So if Citadel Securities is full of a lot of billion-dollar accounts from really, really scary people, and Ken Griffin blows that money, he's a dead man. Have you folks seen the movie The Other Guys? Came out, I don't know, 2011, 2012. It's a Will Ferrell buddy cop show. So while being like slapstick funny and everything, the underlying plot of the movie is that there's a money manager, and he's got a bunch of accounts, and he made a mistake, and he lost $30 billion of someone very scary's money. And so they are now going to like kill him or whatever, or he's got to steal money from other scary people and give to them. And so it ends up becoming a Ponzi scheme that they end up doing. I think there's probably a lot of that going on with some of these hedge funds. Is that they're like, yeah, buddy, sure. And they put on their smile and charm and their teeth veneers, and they take $1 billion from, you know, some warlord from Congo, and they invest that money. And they, their job is to make sure that there's returns and they don't lose that principal. And they may just lose that principal. And that warlord is not going to like that. And it's also kind of the plot of Casino Royale is that this what was that guy's name? Lafarge or whatever his name is. The guy that bleeds tears. He took money from warlords and then lost it. And then they're going to kill him. That's what happens. So, yeah, once you agree to take their money, you take on whatever risk comes with it. And prison may be his best option rather than being, forced to chew and swallow his own penis. So, there you go. Buckeye Ace, GME split. How many shares will be split off? We don't know. Everyone is assuming that whole 741 we saw means 7 shares for everyone. We don't know. Theoretically, they can go as high as 13 if they do a full billion authorization. I don't know. I don't know for sure. And it's not necessarily split. Yeah, share dividend is what that would be. David Allen Grove, AMC used to offer dividends. At what point could they offer them again? Would it be wise for Adam Aaron to offer dividend shares to AMC stockholders like GameStop? Adam Aaron can't. They've got way too much debt to their revenue, and they aren't making a profit. So you have to get your books back in the black and pay off a significant portion of debt so that's below your revenue before you're allowed to offer dividends. So AMC can't until they probably pay off $5 billion in debt or so. Yeah. Tulip, Houston, if the 2 squeezes and first ends up being MOAS, can we buy back in and receive dividend? I wonder if institutions time it where they won't qualify for dividend if we sell and buy back in. I don't know if the price will drop low enough. Honestly. I mean, there will have to be a share recall before the date of record for that dividend. There's going to have to be. Any institution that lent shares out is, if they're smart, they'll do a share recall prior to that date of record. And those institutions won't sell their shares until after the date of record. Because they still want, why wouldn't you want 7 more shares in your account? So they'll do a recall. There may be a big jump in price. Date of record happens. And then maybe they'll sell what shares they have out in the market after the date of record, so that hedge funds have something that they can put in people's accounts. I'd be curious to see what happens. And then those institutions get their 7 more shares or whatever the dividend happens to be. And they start selling again. So, man, it'd be really interesting. I'd love to sit in a room with a bunch of nerds and go through every possible outcome and just map how many of these multiverses we can spin off from this and see which one is the correct prediction and that this thing most closely tailors to. That'd be kind of fun, like a writer's room style or something. Okay. Yeah, just me. Just got back from Lanzarote. You would love it. Lava everywhere. Let's go. It's in the Caymans, right? No, Canaries, I believe. Yeah. This sucker. Look at these little cinder cones. These are some big cinder cones. That's a big old cinder cone right there. That is very much like Diamond Head. That's cool. Oh, give me that. What's that Wikipedia there? Timfaya National Park. Cool, man. I'd love to go there. I'd love to go there. Did you make it over to? Is it still active over on La Palma? This one, La Palma. No, this one. This one's La Palma. This one La Palma? Yeah, this one's La Palma. So this sucker, I don't know, how updated is this? Is there a date on here? Still looks like big lava flow, but I don't think this one. This is where it's coming from. But yeah, it's wiped out quite a bit still. Man, I want to go. I want to go play with lava. John Donson, AMC will never again offer a dividend. I don't say never, never, but it's pretty likely that they won't be in a financial position to offer one for quite a long time. Yeah. GR Galicia, will Fidelity do the shenanigans when the dividend shares are handed out? I don't think so. Fidelity's been pretty rock solid so far. They're their own clearinghouse. I don't think that they will. I just don't get the sense that they're gonna f us over on this. They're long on GameStop, their own accounts, so they know that they can make a boatload off of this. Somebody tweeted me thing I was supposed to talk about. Apparently someone tried to buy MMTLP on Fidelity today, and they're told that no more trading of MMTLP is allowed to happen on Fidelity. So I haven't tried to buy any in there in a few weeks. I mean, I bought like the amount that I figure I need, and I haven't really thought about buying more. So if anyone else has trouble buying, I'd love to see it. But it was literally a thing saying, no, this security is no longer going to trade. You can only sell to close. You can't buy anymore, which is interesting. Very interesting. It's almost expert market style. Euphoria Morning, Houston, did you catch up on any of the recent Bitcoin convention, and have you investigated Solana? Incredible tech. I see as a long-term investment. Cheers, buddy. I know nothing about Solana. The only thing I saw about the Bitcoin convention is that they built their own cyber bull statue. It looks like it should be in Tron or something. I've heard of Solana, but I don't know anything what they do. I'll check that out. Trey Spider, think Adam, Aaron, and RC are in contact? Probably. I wouldn't doubt they would do joint things in the future. Like I talked about this a lot, is that it'd be brilliant if they could use AMC theaters for I don't know what to call it, like little league gaming leagues. Sort of. You got your professional baseball. Everyone goes and plays professional baseball. Cool, those make millions of dollars. But then you have little league games where the kids go and they play each other, and the parents are cheering in the stands and everything. Why not set something up like that for video games, where you can have your little Billy go up against his friends as a team playing Call of Duty or whatever, Fortnite, and they go and it's up on the big screen and everyone's playing their computers and everyone cheers them on every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. just like they would at the soccer game. I think that would be pretty cool, and it could be one of those joint partnerships they could do. Deck P, MMTLP still available on Ameritrade. Okay, so Ameritrade's trading it, but Fidelity apparently is like, we're done with this one. Fidelity's more likely to do that to folks. Like there's a lot of penny stocks they won't let me buy on Fidelity. I'm like, yeah, I'll buy this stock. Fidelity's like, for your own good, I'm not going to let you buy that. And then I go to my Schwab account, and Schwab's like, I don't care what you do with your money. Buy all the garbage you want. I'm like, woohoo! I'll take $600,000 shares of this worthless bankrupt company. Schwab's like, idiot. But Fidelity doesn't let me be an idiot. Schwab doesn't care. SK, what do you think about the run-up last week? I think the run-up last week was happening due to, I think the hedge funds were like, cool, let's run this thing, let's make a bunch of money off of options and go from there. And then GameStop dropped their news that they're offering a dividend, and that put a halt to all their plans to let it run up. All of a sudden they're like, ooh, we can't let this thing gamma ramp because that puts too many shares in the money, and we will not be able to handle 10 million more shares. Excuse me, in the money. I did not sleep well. Did not sleep well last night. I'm just very tired. So I think we're looking at them right now, just going. Show everyone a good side, monkey. There you go. I think it's they're going to make sure it's in and around max pain pretty much every day forward until we get some more big news of some kind, whether the vote happens or whatever. It may be several weeks of just closing at max pain. If you guys don't know what max pain is, it is basically you've got a bunch of puts on this side and a bunch of calls on the other, and whichever way the stock price swings, it puts them in the money, which means lots of shares have to be found. So if the price goes down to, let's say, $120, maybe it puts 10 million put shares in the money. So then all of a sudden 10 million shares have to be purchased, and that creates a bunch of liability for the short hedge funds. If the price goes to $200, that could put 10 million shares in the money, so that by Monday morning they have to go out and have to buy a bunch of shares and cause the price to jack even more, which causes more to go in the money, and it creates just tons of liability for the short hedge funds either way. And so if you close between those two big humps of puts and calls, then you don't have to worry about more of these shares go in the money, and you get less liability in the end for the market makers. So that's why we're seeing a bunch of 400 orders in the level 2s, because it said don't let the price go anywhere from here. We're right where we need to be, so that they finish between those two. So, hey, big dog. Hey, buddy. Yeah, coming to say hi finally. There we go. Yeah, that's a big dog. You big monster. You big dumb monster. Look at your stupid dog face. It's just all about her. Okay. Squamps, I might have to transfer shares from Fidelity TD because I have 90% of my shares in Fidelity and Computer Share, and 1 in TD. Get more brokerages. I mean, I've got plenty of brokerages. I've got shares all over the place. I sometimes forget, like, oh yeah, I bought some. Like, I bought AMC on Cash App because when they turned off the buy button, that's the only place you could buy it. So I've got a bunch of AMC shares inside Cash App I keep forgetting about. Oops. Oh yeah, those exist. Oh yeah, forgot about that. Matt B, I haven't either, but I'm afraid of Fidelity selling out from under me during the mayhem when it happens. Fidelity, I don't think will sell out from under you. Why would they sell out from under you when the mayhem happens? If you have a cash account, you're not on margin, they have no right to sell out from under you. So I don't think that they're going to kill the active customers who make them a lot of money. Like, what would be the mechanism for them to sell out from under you? There would be no mechanism. Like, they'll make a shitload of cash if you wait to sell it for how much you want to sell it for. If they sell it for too little, then they're not making any money on those transactions. So they're going to want it to go as high as possible in price, because they're also long on these stocks. They've got hold 9 million of them or something. So they want the price to go as high as possible too. Oh crap! And of course the thing just reset again. Or there, Squamsk. You are so nosy. Okay. Trey Spiders Houston, you're still with Robinhood currently? I have some stuff stuck in there. I honestly do use Robinhood to play with options because it's just so easy. So when I'm playing with options, I'm using the Robinhood account to do that. I don't actively buy shares in there anymore. If I'm going long on anything, I do that in my other brokerage accounts. But the stuff that was in my brokerage account before I open Fidelity was in Robinhood, so there's a bunch of stuff stuck in there. And I tried transferring and just nothing. Months went by. I'd call up like, hey, like no. So I just kind of stopped trying to transfer So I've got stuff stuck in there, that's for sure. Alan Woodwork, Houston, happy not your birthday. Can you link the DD to level 2 trade cipher? I can. OTC, market maker signals. Go away. Go there. Dump in the chat. Bam. Bam. What the? Oh, my thing turned off. Well, shit. Does that mean... Okay, so... Oh, because it's been 40 minutes since I... Okay, I'll close that. Cool. And I can go here? No, I go here. Can I do this? I turned the zoom off. No, this one. I want that. I want... No, not that one. No. I want the... Where's my video capture? I want video capture device. There's monkey. And where's the other one? I don't know. I don't know how to do... Did I just open up another Zoom? Maybe that's what I should do. For another 15 minutes, just open up Zoom again. And pretend like I'm going to do that. Okay, new meeting. Bam. Do that. And oh, turn on you. Go like that. There we go. Okay, I would just open up a new Zoom so I can let this one ride for another 15 minutes. There we go. Okay. So there's the level 2. Bones, Houston, the human race should learn to work collaboratively and develop technology that serves the good of mankind. Am I crazy? Oh, man. I don't know how likely a Star Trek future is, but it would be nice if we actually work towards that. I have the feeling that there's just too many desperate people, and desperate people do desperate things, combined with too many people with personality disorders. Star Trek cured the problem of personality disorders by literally, like, in that future, they can go in your brain and go, oh, boom, they have empathy turned on. Sorry you're born that way. And all of a sudden, you didn't have the sociopaths, the psychopaths, the narcissists and stuff out there. And that's, that'd be great. That'd be great if we didn't have to worry about those guys. Deck P. If you have shares in two brokers and transfer share A to B and B to A, will this flush out any synthetic shares? Well, generally, transferring involves closing an account. So I don't know if you'd be able to transfer, like, I'm going to transfer everything from this Fidelity account over to this Robinhood account, everything from this Robinhood account over to this Fidelity account. I don't think it would work, because if you're like, hey, Fidelity, I'm going to transfer it, Fidelity's going to go, okay, fuck you, I'm closing your account. I think that's how it works. So I don't think we would quite be able to. You may have to, like, just do like a transfer daisy chain, I don't know, to make that work. Elevated Finance, I'm calling my broker and having them locate my shares, see how that messes with their nefarious plans. I'm sure I'll get all kinds of hum and haws that they can't do it. Probably. Tulip, do you think it would be sooner than 90 days like Josh thought after dividend approved? Man. It's going to be really hard to estimate. Because again, I think we see dividend approved, and there'll be some data record probably 30 days out from when that dividend's approved, right? And in that time, there's going to be a check of the ledger. And that check of the ledger is going to result in recall by institutions who lent out shares, which is going to result in a jacking of price. Now, when that date of record happens, between then and when the shares are issued, there may be there may be a lull in that time, right? Because once those institutions get their shares back, they can sell some, get money because they got 7 more or whatever, 10 more, 5 more, whatever it is coming later. Then there is the date of delivery. So the folks who are in DRS, the folks who happen to have legit shares in their accounts, they're going to find, oh, I've got these, hundreds of new shares in my account. Yay! There will then be a default on all, if not all, then most of the synthetic shares in retail brokerage accounts. And that default should result in immediate liquidization of the failure to deliver hedge funds and market makers. And this could put a capital requirement failure for the market makers. It would be liquidity failure for the hedge funds. And that would probably be the MOAS then. Because now we've got the trading computers doing the forced buying of these shares, and they've got to do it, 20, 30, 40 times over to close all those positions and to deliver, they deliver shares into your account. Cool. They didn't deliver into this guy's account. They have to buy your shares to give them to this guy so that he can sell them and they can give them to somebody else. So it's going to be this, passing the buck through all of these accounts. Suddenly I got a bunch of shares in my account. Cool. Now it's my turn to sell them for a stupid amount of money. And then they're going to put them into Joe Blow's account. And then Joe Blow is going to have, it's my turn to sell them for a stupid amount of money. And there may be somebody in the end who's the last one in that chain of events. And they might be stuck holding the bag. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure that most of us will be doing all right. Doing just fine in that realm. Okay. Darren Haya, Houston, what if the shareholder dividend vote gets hijacked or hacked? Is that even possible? Or am I just fear-mongering because they have done so much crap already? I think if the shareholder vote somehow turns out the opposite of what all of retail wants, that would signal that, there's probably some crime going on resulting in that. And that would probably be one of those unforgivable type crimes. I don't think it's going to get hacked because the data record for that was today. So if the hedge funds wanted to get in on this vote, they had to bone up their positions by today. And we did not see buying that represent that at all. So I don't think they did. Spencer, very interesting point about losing rich people's money. Check out the book Moneyland. Put that one underneath the Al Murray thing. Book Moneyland. All right, check that out. Check that out. Using the kitty pen that Squamps gave me. Thank you, Squamps. Beautiful pen. And I have to figure out what all this stuff is. Hokkaido soft, I don't know what that is. And candy burgers. Burger-shaped chocolate-filled cookies. This sounds awesome. Fantastic. I love it. All right, 1:54. I got 6 minutes, and then I got to get ready for this call with the production company. Figure out when the heck I'm flying down to LA to go yell facts at kids. Truth Seeker had a cost basis issue 3 times when making block transfers to Fidelity from Robinhood cash account. Interesting. All right. Okay, people talking about AMC dividend. Yeah, no, AMC dividend's happening anytime soon. All right. Oh. This thing likes... All right. Deck P's question. Dark Latin Houston. So I hold shares of AMC from January 2021. I would hope they are real shares at 7.57. Don't know for sure. But if I was to transfer from Robinhood to another, how do I know if I get my real shares? If you transfer, they can't transfer synthetics. Those will not transfer. So Robinhood has to go out and find the real deal, put them into your account, and then they can transfer them. That's why a lot of these transfers take months and months and months and months, because Robinhood never finds the real thing. So I think that's why mine never transfers. That I just had too many meme stock shares, and Robinhood just gave up and just sort of like went, ignore that transfer. So that's why I think those cost bases weren't really high. Captain's Channel, Volt Army. I don't even know what that means, Captain's Channel, but more power to you. Literally and figuratively. Freethinker McJones, does a split mean more paper shares will be printed and stored in seed vaults? No paper shares are printed. They don't do that anymore. You have to specifically ask them, and only certain types of stocks actually have paper certificates, but it's all electronic, stored in the computers of the DTCC. Stonkinator, I've transferred in and out of Fidelity and Webull about 10 times, so maybe I'm wrong about that. All right, maybe you can transfer back and forth. That just sounds amazing. GR Galicia, can you clarify this? If we have synthetic shares in Fidelity, how can we sell it during MOAS? You can sell any synthetic you want. It acts just like a real share. And so the person buying that share still needs synthetics as much as they need the real thing, because if they get synthetic, they can close out an obligation that way. They can just delete it from existence. So they can get... If you have a synthetic, you don't know if you have a synthetic at the time. And so when you sell a share and there's someone else buying a share, they don't know they're buying a synthetic. So it acts just like a real share. So yes, you can still sell during MOAS if you have that in your account. Okay. That Canadian dude, there was a post showing that brokers are internalizing buy orders but sending sell orders to New York Stock Exchange for GME. How would that be legal? Best execution wise, I don't know if this was mentioned already. I don't know. I would have to see that. Send me a link to that DD showing that they were internalizing those orders. I have to read that, figure that out. What's going on? AMC Bull, will Bed Bath & Beyond pop in the next month? I haven't spent any time researching Bed Bath & Beyond. I just know that it's a squeeze play as well, and that Ryan Cohen bought a bunch of it because why not? You can do the same thing with them as he's been doing with GME and modernize them and get them online and use that part of the market. Truth Seeker, my transfers from Fidelity to Robinhood, to Fidelity from Robinhood, never took longer than 3 days. How come you guys had it go so fast? Mine took forever and then just never happened. I tried twice and they're like, oh yeah, totally, we'll get this started, and then nothing. So I don't know why you guys were so lucky and I have not been lucky in that realm. Okay, that's it for today. We'll be doing a show Monday. Yeah. So look for that then. I'm going to try and do, I keep saying this, I'm going to try and do Twitch, but then sometimes I just don't get around to it. I like to play more video games. Monkey Butt, Big Dog, you guys good to go? Yeah? Maybe have to do a walk for you guys too. That does happen. Not yet though. Don't get your hopes up. I have to get ready for this other Zoom thingy I'm doing. All right, everybody. Toodles. Goodbye. One more time with the. I gotta go to there. I have to turn you on. There we go. All right.